Hi, this is Lara from Forex Info USA with your free daily US dollar index Elliott wave analysis for the New York trading session dated Thursday the 8th of April. And New York has been closed now nearly 3.5 hours. Starting this analysis with a look back just for the last 3 years today. If you'd like analysis back to 1985, you'll find it I think in yesterday's video, at the start of that video. So we're in a cycle degree wave C. We had a cycle degree wave B ending up here in early 2008. Thereafter, of wave C, we've got primary 1 and 2 complete, and we're working on a primary third wave up that must take the dollar beyond the end of wave 1, which was just below 90 level. Of this primary third wave, we're still working on the end of the first leg, with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up to end wave 1 of primary 3. When that's over, and it'll be over in a couple of weeks or so possibly, we'll see a correction down before another third wave up. I'm really confident that we are in a third wave and that wave 2 is over because we have a very confident breach of this trend channel. This is drawn here using Elliott's channeling technique. It works very well on daily charts, especially at blue or minor degree and wave degrees above blue. Draw a trend line from the start of A to the end of B, place a parallel copy and place it on the end of wave A. This is pretty much contained price movement as the dollar moved down, with a tiny overthrow here and a few overthrows at the end of wave C black to finish wave 2. Thereafter we've got some really strong confident movement well outside this parallel trend channel, giving us good cause to consider that wave 2 is definitely over and wave 3 is underway. Wave 1 was 18.7 long. We could expect wave 3 to reach at least the level of wave 1, which would take the dollar up to 92.97, probably about the end of this year or early next year. Also, it's quite likely that wave 3 could reach 1.618, the length of wave 1, which would see the dollar taken up to about 104.58 again by the end of this year and early into next year. So taking you now to a regular daily chart and having a look at recent movements. Here's the end of that primary second wave, and here's the 1, 2, 3, 4 and the early stages of minor wave 5 to end intermediate wave 1 up for the dollar. Price is still constantly nicely contained in this parallel trend channel drawn here again, Elliott's channeling technique, and it's working very well. While the dollar stays comfortably tightly contained in this parallel trend channel, we can assume that wave 5 blue is still underway, and I'm not going to consider that it's over until I see a full day's bar opening and closing below the lower edge of this trend channel. I think that's a really conservative approach. So far of this fifth wave at blue or minor degree, we've got waves 1 and 2 complete, and we're working on the early stages of a third wave up. And at the moment we've got the end of a first leg of that, and we're due for a small correction. Any downward movement for the dollar with these corrections as it moves up should very nicely be contained by this lower green trend line. This trend channel, drawn in this instance, with a trend line from the high of 1 to the high of 3 and a parallel copy placed on the low of 2. As we have corrections on the downside, price should not move much, if at all, below this. We can have overthrows, and then it should turn and bounce off this trend channel. This should provide good support for downward movement. So taking you now to an hourly chart where this pink 2 is this pink 2 down here, and here's our most recent corrective ABC for wave 2 pink, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up to end wave 1 green, again nicely contained in this trend channel. Since I did this chart, it's broken recently out comfortably and confidently to the downside, giving us a strong indication that wave 1 green is now over here, and wave 2 correcting it is now underway. Here's our invalidation point down here on the hourly chart. Because wave 2 cannot move beyond the beginning of wave 1, our invalidation point is 80.68, just down here. Yesterday we were up here, and I said it looked like we should be expecting a little bit further, or we could be expecting a little bit further upwards movement for wave 5 orange, and I had a target 81.95. It's come really close to that. It's reached up to 81.89, which is just 0.06 short of that little target given. Thereafter, exactly as expected, it's turned sharply down, and now it's breached the lower edge of this parallel trend channel. In this instance, the channel again is drawn with a trend line from the high of 1 to the high of 3 and a parallel copy placed on the low of 2. While price remains below this parallel trend channel, we'll assume that wave 2 green is underway, and I have a downwards target today for movement to the downside. It's likely to get down to around about the 0.5 ratio, 81.28, to also somewhere close to the end of wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, which is 81.32. So a little target zone, 81.28 to 81.32 for you on the downside. Thereafter, if this wave count is correct, we should then see some strong upwards movement in a third wave to come next. If it continues down and moves down below, just going back to the daily, if it continues down from there and moves below this parallel trend line, that's when we can consider a bearish alternate. That's when we can consider that wave 5 blue could be over and wave 2 black would then be underway. But we're not there yet. I expect it'll get down to this target zone or thereabouts and then turn back up in some strong upwards movement. So that's my outlook for the dollar for the next 24 hours. It seems to be fairly well behaved according to this wave count, and I hope it continues to be so. As always, may you have an awesome day and may all your trades be profitable.